They say a man's hands tell his story. Mine rebuilt turbine engines at 12,000 feet, kept Blackhawks flying through Iraqi sandstorms, saved 47 pilots from coffins. Now they push a mop for $14 an hour. And that's exactly how I want it. Have you ever been so good at something that being good became your biggest curse? The night hangar at Morgan Aviation smells like metal and broken promises. It's 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday, and I've learned that scent well over the past 547 days. Aircraft-grade aluminum mixed with hydraulic fluid and the cologne of men who believe their engineering degrees make them invincible. I push my mop across the polished concrete in steady, rhythmic strokes. The way I do everything these days, quietly, efficiently, invisibly. 18 months of this, 547 nights of watching other people solve problems I could fix in my sleep. But staying invisible keeps Emma fed, keeps our lights on, keeps me from becoming the man I swore I'd never be again. The vast space echoes with the sounds of failure. A voice shouts from beneath the prototype, frustration building for the 6th straight hour. Robert Harris, lead engineer, a man whose MIT credentials mean nothing when faced with a machine that refuses to cooperate. There has to be something we're missing. I keep mopping. My path takes me along the perimeter of the work area, careful not to cross into their territory. I've learned to move like background noise, present but unnoticed. Safer that way, easier. The night shift janitor isn't supposed to have opinions about rotor mechanics or fuel injection systems. He's supposed to clean up other people's messes and cash a modest paycheck that barely covers rent and Emma's after-school program. The Skyhawk X9 dominates the center of the hangar. Elizabeth Morgan's golden child, the machine that's supposed to revolutionize military and civilian aviation. Sleeker than anything currently in production, with next-generation avionics and a power-to-weight ratio that exists mostly in theoretical papers. 3 years of development, $200 million in investor capital. And it won't start. From my angle, 40 feet away with a mop in my hands, I can see the problem. The slight discoloration around the fuel intake valve, microscopic shimmer that suggests metal particulate contamination. But I say nothing. I've said nothing for 18 months, and that silence has kept me employed, kept Emma in her robotics club, kept our small apartment warm. 3 years ago, my wife Jennifer died. Drunk driver, wrong place, wrong time. I was in Baghdad keeping helicopters flying while our 4-year-old daughter waited for a mommy who never came home. I got discharged, collected Emma from foster care, and spent the next year and a half trying to hold jobs I couldn't keep. Construction, warehouse work, auto shop. The grief and anger made everything impossible. Then I found this, night shift janitor. Invisible work, safe work, work that let me be there when Emma woke up every morning. 547 days of being exactly nobody. The hangar doors burst open with a sound like judgment. Elizabeth Morgan doesn't enter rooms, she conquers them. At 42, she carries herself with the absolute certainty of someone who's never been told no and meant it. Her heels strike the concrete like a judge's gavel, each step a declaration of authority. Behind her trails her executive team, William Carter, VP of Engineering, whose silver hair and permanent scowl make him look like a disappointed headmaster. The others I don't know by name, just faces attached to expensive suits and the kind of stress that comes from knowing $200 million is on the line. Elizabeth's voice cuts through the ambient noise like a scalpel. Tell me we are not still looking at an inoperable prototype 12 hours before the most important demonstration of this company's history. The engineers freeze. I keep mopping, but slower now. My path takes me closer to the cluster of people who determine whether Emma eats regular meals or discounted ones. I watch Elizabeth from the corner of my vision. Built this company from nothing, they say. Daughter of a Boeing machinist who never made supervisor because he didn't have the right degree, she climbed out of the working class by stepping on everyone who reminded her where she came from, including people like me. This contract represents 40% of our revenue for 5 years. Her words are measured, controlled rage. If we lose it, I'm not just laying off engineers. I'm shutting down divisions. Families lose homes, children lose college funds. All because my team of highly paid experts can't figure out why an engine won't turn over. My mop has stopped moving. I stand 30 feet away, partially obscured by a tool cart, but my eyes lock on the prototype. The fuel system discoloration has spread slightly in the past hour. I can see it from here, the way metal shavings catch the light differently than clean surfaces. It wouldn't show up on sensors. This is the kind of problem you find with your hands, not computers. The kind mechanics in desert outposts learn to spot when lives depend on it. My hands tighten on the mop handle. The wood is smooth, worn by industrial cleaner and hours of repetitive motion. Safe, predictable, nothing like the textured grips of the tools I used to carry back when my hands meant something. Elizabeth's eyes sweep the room, cataloging everything. Then inevitably they land on me. For a moment we simply look at each other. The CEO in her designer suit that costs more than my monthly salary. The janitor in his gray coveralls with his name stitched above the pocket in letters that might as well be invisible. Something flickers in her expression. Not recognition. I'm far too insignificant for that, but a kind of predatory awareness, like a chess player spotting an unexpected move. She walks toward me. You, janitor. My stomach tightens, but I keep my face neutral. Yes, ma'am. You've been here every night for what, 18 months? 18 months, ma'am. She circles me slowly the way a prosecutor circles a witness. 18 months of watching my engineers work, listening to their conversations, seeing our problems. She stops 5 feet away, close enough that I can smell her perfume. Something expensive and sharp. Tell me, do you have any insights? Any janitorial wisdom about aviation engineering? A few engineers shift uncomfortably. Some smile, uncertain whether this is humor or something darker. William Carter watches with the expression of a man observing an execution he finds mildly interesting. No, ma'am. I just clean. Just clean. She repeats the words like she's tasting them. Isn't that funny? We have 12 engineers in this hangar right now. 12 people with advanced degrees from MIT, Caltech, Stanford. Combined, they represent about 4 million in education and 200 years of experience. And yet here we stand, stumped by a machine that won't start. She moves directly in front of me. But you just clean. Yes, ma'am. Look at me when I'm speaking to you. I raise my eyes. Up close, Elizabeth Morgan is striking. Sharp cheekbones, perfectly maintained dark hair, eyes that assess value with an accountant's precision. She's also angry, not just at the situation, but at something deeper, something that makes her dangerous. I'm going to make you an offer. Her voice carries just far enough for nearby people to hear. A wager, if you will. You fix my helicopter, get it running before 8 a.m., and I'll give you a kiss right here in front of everyone. Proof that even a janitor can rise above his station with a little luck. Her smile sharpens. But if you fail, if you waste even one more minute of my engineer's time with whatever amateur tinkering you might attempt, you're fired immediately. No severance, no reference. You leave this building with exactly what you brought. Nothing. The hangar goes silent. Somewhere in the back, someone's radio crackles with static. My heart hammers against my ribs so hard I think everyone must hear it. Emma's face flashes through my mind. 7 years old this morning, eating oatmeal she made herself because I was sleeping after my shift. Her shoes with the toes pushing through the canvas. The after-school program that costs $300 a month. Rent at $1,100, groceries at $400, utilities at $150. I have $47 in savings, but I can see the problem. Clear as day, metal shavings in the fuel intake valve, 30-minute fix, maybe less. I've done it 100 times in places where helicopters had to fly or people died. William Carter clears his throat. Ms. Morgan, I don't think this is... I'm not asking what you think, William. She never looks away from me. I'm making a very simple proposition to our janitor friend here. He's been watching us fail for 6 hours. Surely he's formed some opinions. Every instinct screams at me to decline, to back away, to return to my mop and my invisibility. In 7 hours, Emma will wake up for school. She'll eat the oatmeal I prepared last night, pack her lunch, catch the bus to Lincoln Elementary. At 3:15, she'll go to the after-school program I can barely afford, where she'll work on a robotics project in a workshop with broken lights and outdated equipment. At 5:30, Mrs. Patricia Wallace from apartment 4B will pick her up and watch her until I get home at 7. Our life is a carefully constructed house of cards. This woman is offering to blow on it. But I can see the problem. And somewhere in the back of my mind, in a part of myself I've tried hard to bury, I can feel the old anger stirring. The rage at watching incompetence waste resources while people who actually know what they're doing get overlooked because they don't have the right credentials. I have a daughter. The words come out steadier than I feel. 7 years old. If I fail, if I'm fired, I need to know she'll be taken care of tonight. Mrs. Wallace will need payment for emergency childcare until I can make other arrangements. Elizabeth's eyebrows rise slightly. You're negotiating. I'm being a father, ma'am. Something shifts in her expression. Not softening exactly, but recognition. Fine. If you fail, you're fired, but I'll ensure someone contacts your neighbor and compensates her for 24 hours of childcare. Enough time for you to grovel for another minimum wage position somewhere. She extends her hand. Do we have an agreement? I look at her hand. Perfectly manicured nails. Skin that's never seen real work. In my mind, I see Emma's face this morning. The way she'd hugged me extra tight because she knew I was worried about money. The way she'd told me, with all the confidence of 7 years old, that she didn't need new shoes yet. That her current ones were fine, even though I could see her toes pushing against the canvas. The moment our hands touch, I know. 547 days of hiding just ended. For better or worse, I'm about to be seen. Her grip is firm, practiced. The handshake of someone who's sealed million-dollar deals. Do we have an agreement? Yes, ma'am. Excellent. She releases my hand. You have until 8 a.m. That's 8 hours and 13 minutes. My engineers will provide whatever tools you need, though I suspect you'll find them hopelessly complex. She turns to her executive team. William, come with me. We need to prepare contingency plans for when this inevitably fails. She's halfway to the door when she stops and looks back. Oh, and janitor. What's your name? Michael. Ma'am, Michael Torres. Well, Michael Torres, I do hope you're ready to kiss me in front of everyone. It would be such a shame if you failed and lost everything instead. Her smile is razor sharp. Good luck. The doors close behind her with a hollow boom that echoes through the hangar. For several seconds, nobody moves. Robert Harris lets out a long breath that's half laugh, half groan. Jesus Christ. Did that actually just happen? William Carter's voice is quiet, bitter. This is exactly what she's like. Cruel for sport when she's backed into a corner. He looks at me with something that might be sympathy. You should have said no. You have no idea what you just agreed to. I set down my mop. The handle clatters against the concrete, too loud in the strange silence. I need to see the fuel system. The fuel system's clean. Robert's response is automatic. We've checked it 3 times. Then you won't mind if I check it a 4th time. I walk toward the prototype, aware of every eye tracking me. The Skyhawk X9 looms larger as I approach. $15 million of aviation technology, silent and still. I've assembled helicopters in sandstorms with half the tools and a quarter of the light. But that was a different life, a different Michael. And I've worked very hard to bury that person. Someone get me a work light and a basic toolkit. My voice sounds different, more confident, like muscle memory of command, and I'll need access to the engine housing. You can't be serious. Robert stares at me. You're actually going to try this? I look at him. Really look at him the way I used to assess young officers fresh from stateside who thought their textbook knowledge made them ready for the field. Are you going to help me, or are you going to stand there and watch me fail? Something in my tone makes him blink. Toolkits in Bay 3. Jennifer, get the work lights. Someone dropped the access panels on the engine housing. The engineers move with uncertain cooperation. Within 5 minutes, I have a rolling tool cart beside the prototype and enough light to perform surgery. I strip off my coverall top, leaving just my t-shirt. The fabric is old, soft from too many washings, with a small stain near the collar where Emma spilled juice last week. Underneath, my arms show the lean muscle that comes from years of real work, not gymnasium vanity. Scattered across my forearms are faint white lines, old scars from working on hot machinery in places where safety protocols were luxuries. I select a wrench from the toolkit with automatic precision. My hands remember. 15 years of muscle memory. Baghdad, Kandahar, Fallujah. Places where helicopters had to fly or people died. I tried to forget, but hands never forget. The fuel line disconnection takes 30 seconds. My movements are economical, sure. You're going to want to drain the line first. Jennifer Watts is suddenly beside me. Otherwise, you'll have fuel everywhere. Already done. I point to the valve I closed while she was still talking. But thank you. She blinks. How did you? The fuel intake valve. I interrupt, my attention on the exposed line. When was the last time anyone physically inspected it? Not the diagnostic readout, actually looked at it. Robert consults his tablet. We replaced it during assembly phase 3 weeks ago. All new components. Certified clean room installation. Certified. I reach into the housing, fingers finding the valve assembly by touch. When I withdraw my hand, my fingertips glitter with fine metallic residue. I hold them up to the light. What is that? William Carter has descended from the mezzanine level, leaning closer. Metal shavings. I wipe my fingers on a shop cloth, probably aluminum. Microscopic particles from the drilling process during final assembly. They got into the fuel intake system, probably when the housing was installed. Too small for your sensors to detect, but enough to create a blockage that prevents proper fuel flow to the combustion chamber. The engineers stare at the glittering residue on the cloth. That's impossible. Robert's voice has lost its certainty. We have protocols, cleanroom standards. Protocols fail when humans implement them. I'm already disconnecting the valve assembly, movements economical and sure. Someone drilled too close to the fuel line during installation. The shavings were microscopic, got past your filters, settled in the valve mechanism. It's the kind of thing that happens in the field all the time. You learn to check for it. In the field? Jennifer's voice is sharp with curiosity. What field? You're a janitor. I don't answer. I'm focused on the valve now, examining it under the work light. There, in the throat of the valve, barely visible even with direct illumination, is a cluster of metallic debris. Not enough to completely block flow, but enough to prevent the precise fuel delivery required for ignition. I need compressed air, low pressure, and a clean catch basin. Someone hands me an air nozzle. I position the catch basin, then carefully direct short bursts of air through the valve assembly. Metallic particles dance in the airstream, settling in the basin with soft tinks that sound like accusation. My God. William Carter breathes. That's been there the whole time. Yes. I set down the air nozzle and select a precision brush from the toolkit, the kind used for cleaning delicate components. My hands move with absolute confidence, working the brush through the valve's interior passages, dislodging more debris. Your diagnostics couldn't see it because they weren't designed to detect mechanical blockage at this scale. They were looking for chemical contamination, electrical faults, pressure irregularities. But sometimes the problem is just dirt in the wrong place. I work in silence for several minutes. The old familiarity returns, the absolute focus that comes from working on machinery that needs to function perfectly because lives depend on it. Emma's face flashes through my mind. The way she looks when she's concentrating on her robotics project, tongue poking slightly between her teeth. She has my hands, everyone says. My focus. How do you know how to do this? Jennifer asks quietly. I pay attention. It's not a lie, just incomplete. You pick things up when you're around machinery long enough. No. Robert's voice is firmer now. This isn't something you pick up. This is trained expertise. Military, maybe. My hands pause for a fraction of a second. Then I continue working, methodical and precise. I clean hangers. That's all you need to know. I finish clearing the valve, hold it up to the light one more time. Clean. Perfect. Exactly as it should have been from the beginning. I reinstall it with the same practiced efficiency, reconnecting fuel lines and checking connections with thoroughness that makes the difference between adequate and excellent. Someone run a fuel pressure test. I step back from the prototype. You should see nominal readings now. Robert moves to the diagnostic panel, fingers dancing across the touchscreen. Numbers cascade across the display, his eyes widen. Pressure is perfect. Flow rate is exactly where it should be. The system is showing green across the board. He looks up at me. How did you know? How could you possibly have known that was the problem? I'm already cleaning my hands on the shop cloth, wiping away evidence of competence. Lucky guess. That wasn't luck. William Carter's voice carries weight of realization. That was expertise. Specific, trained expertise. The kind that takes years to develop. He moves closer, studying my face as if seeing me for the first time. Who are you really? I'm the janitor who might have just saved your jobs. I check my watch, a cheap digital model that cost $15 at a pharmacy. It's 12:43 a.m. You have 7 hours and 17 minutes to test fire the engine and run your final systems check before General Anderson arrives. I'd suggest you get started. I turn to walk away, back to my mop and comfortable invisibility, but Robert blocks my path. Not yet. We need to verify the fix. If it works, when it works, you're going to have to face Elizabeth Morgan and whatever comes next. You might want to prepare yourself for that. I'm prepared. I meet his eyes. I've been preparing for 18 months. Please move. I have floors to clean. The floors can wait. William Carter's voice carries authority. Start the engine. Let's see if the janitor really did fix what 12 engineers couldn't. Jennifer is already in the cockpit, running through the pre-ignition checklist with automatic precision. The hangar fills with the soft whir of electrical systems coming online, the gentle hum of computers running startup sequences. Fuel system online. She calls out. Pressure nominal. All readings green. Ignition in 3, 2, 1. The engine catches with a sound like controlled thunder. Not the rough cough of a system struggling to life, but the smooth, powerful roar of machinery working exactly as designed. The rotor blades begin to turn, slowly at first, then faster. The distinctive whoop, whoop, whoop of a helicopter building toward operational speed. The sound fills the hangar, reflecting off the high ceiling, drowning out everything else. I watch the prototype come alive and feel nothing. No triumph, no pride. Just the quiet satisfaction of a job done correctly. The same satisfaction I feel when I finish mopping a section of floor and the concrete gleams clean in the fluorescent light. Shut it down, William calls out after 30 seconds. We don't want to waste engine hours before the demonstration. The roar dies away, leaving ringing silence that feels heavier than noise. Jennifer emerges from the cockpit, face flushed with something between excitement and disbelief. Perfect start. No hesitation, no irregularities. It's running like it should have from day one. She looks at me. You actually did it. You fixed it. I found some dirt and cleaned it out. That's what janitors do. That's not. Robert starts, but I'm already walking away. Back to where my mop stands abandoned against the wall. I pick it up, feel the familiar weight of the handle, the mundane reality of my actual job. Wait, William Carter calls. Michael, wait. You realize what this means, right? You just saved a $200 million demonstration. Possibly saved this entire company. Elizabeth Morgan is going to have to acknowledge what you've done. She's going to have to kiss me. My voice is flat. Is that what you were going to say? That she's going to have to honor her wager? I turn to face them. I don't want her kiss. I don't want her acknowledgement. I want to finish my shift, go home to my daughter, and forget this ever happened. But you can't, Jennifer says softly. Don't you see, she made it public. She made it a spectacle. When she comes back tomorrow morning and sees that you succeeded, everyone's going to know. You can't just disappear back into being invisible, not after this. I feel something cold settle in my chest. She's right. Elizabeth Morgan made sure of that when she issued her challenge in front of witnesses, when she turned my competence into a wager, when she offered a kiss like it was a prize instead of an insult. Then I'll deal with that tomorrow. Right now, I have 6 more hours of my shift, and these floors aren't going to clean themselves. I push the mop across the concrete, resuming the rhythm I've perfected over 547 nights. Behind me, the engineers stand in uncertain silence. The prototype helicopter ticks softly as its engine cools. Somewhere above us, in offices I've cleaned but never worked in, Elizabeth Morgan is probably preparing contingency plans for my failure, plans she won't need. But what nobody in that room knew was this one moment would change everything, not just for me, for everyone who'd ever been invisible. Robert Harris approaches me as I mop, his shadow falling across the clean floor. My mother was a janitor. His voice is quiet. Public schools, Chicago. She worked nights so she could be home when I got back from school. 23 years of mopping floors and emptying trash bins. He pauses. She was also the smartest person I ever knew. Could have been anything, done anything. But life didn't give her chances. So she pushed me instead. Made sure I had the opportunities she never got. That's a nice story. It's a relevant story. Robert crouches down, making me meet his eyes. Because I recognize what I'm looking at. You're not a janitor who got lucky. You're someone who knows exactly what they're doing, hiding in a janitor's uniform. And I'm wondering why. You should stop wondering. It's not good for your career. Probably not, he agrees. But I'm going to say this anyway. Whatever reason you have for hiding, it's your business. I respect that. But you should know, what you did tonight wasn't just fixing a helicopter. You made 12 people question everything they thought they knew about competence and credentials. That's going to ripple whether you want it to or not. Then I'll make sure I'm not here when the ripples arrive. I resume mopping. Go home, Robert. Get some sleep. You have a big day tomorrow. He stands slowly. So do you, whether you want one or not. He walks away. One by one, the other engineers follow. Some cast curious glances back at me. Others whisper to each other, phones already out, probably texting colleagues about the bizarre events of the night. By 1:30 a.m., the hangar is quiet again. Just me and the machines, the way I prefer it. I finish the main floor, then move to the offices on the mezzanine level. Through the windows, I can see the Skyhawk prototype sitting silent in its pool of work lights, looking exactly like it has every other night for the past 3 weeks. But everything has changed. I've changed it, broken my own rules, stepped out of the shadows I'd so carefully cultivated. My phone buzzes, a text from Mrs. Wallace. Emma's fine, sleeping peacefully. Don't worry about her. You're a good father, Michael. I stare at the message. A good father. That's what I'm trying to be. That's why I took the night shift janitor job despite being overqualified for it. That's why I buried my past and my skills and everything I used to be. Because Emma needs stability, not a father who chases career advancement and leaves her with babysitters. She needs someone present, someone reliable, Someone who's there when she wakes from nightmares about the mother she barely remembers. But now I've risked all of that for a helicopter. No, not for a helicopter. For the principle of it. For the anger that built watching educated incompetence waste resources. For the part of myself I tried to bury but couldn't quite kill. I cleaned the executive offices with particular care, removing every trace of the day's activity. In Elizabeth Morgan's office, all glass and steel and aggressive minimalism, I find photographs on the credenza. Elizabeth receiving awards, Elizabeth cutting ribbons, Elizabeth shaking hands with politicians and generals. In every photo she wears the same expression, absolute certainty of her own importance. I turn away and finish cleaning. At 4 a.m., I take my lunch break in the small room off the main hangar where night shift workers gather. Carlos Rodriguez is there, heating something in the microwave that smells like his wife's cooking. Heard you had an interesting night. He doesn't quite look at me. Whole building's talking about it. The janitor who fixed what the engineers couldn't. Word travels fast, always does. He retrieves his food, some kind of stew. You should be careful, hermano. People like Elizabeth Morgan, they don't like being shown up, especially not by people they consider beneath them. I didn't show anyone up. I just removed some debris from a valve. You made her look foolish in front of her executives, in front of her engineers. She made a public bet and you called her bluff. He shakes his head. That's not debris removal, that's revolution, and revolutions have consequences. I open my lunch, a peanut butter sandwich I made last evening while Emma did homework at our small kitchen table. She'd asked about my work, the way she sometimes does. I told her the same thing I always do. It's fine, just cleaning, nothing special. I don't want a revolution, I just want to keep my job and take care of my daughter. Then you shouldn't have been so good at something you're not supposed to be good at. Carlos smiles, but it's sad. That's the problem with hiding, amigo. Eventually someone sees you anyway. We eat in silence. Through the break room window I can see the prototype helicopter. Tomorrow morning General Anderson will watch it fly. Will anyone tell him that a janitor fixed it? Or will the engineers take credit the way systems always protect themselves? At 5 a.m., I go back to work, clean the break room, the bathrooms, the storage areas, empty bins and replace liners and make sure every surface gleams. This is my job. This is what I'm paid for, not engineering, not problem solving, not saving multi-million-dollar demonstrations. The sun starts to rise as William Carter finds me again. The VP looks like he hasn't slept. Shirt wrinkled, eyes red-rimmed. We ran every test. His voice is hoarse. Flight systems, avionics, structural integrity, everything. The helicopter is perfect, better than perfect. It's performing above specifications. He pauses. Elizabeth Morgan arrives in 90 minutes. I thought you should know. Thank you. I also thought you should know that I submitted a report to HR about your skills, your knowledge. What you did tonight wasn't janitorial work. It was expert-level aviation engineering. You deserve recognition for that. Proper recognition. I stop polishing the hangar's main windows, removing streaks. I'd prefer you didn't. Too late. It's already filed. He meets my eyes. I don't know why you're working below your skill level, and I won't pry. But you should be aware, Elizabeth Morgan isn't the only one who's going to have questions after this. And unlike her, some of us actually care about answers. He leaves before I can respond. The hangar fills with people as 7 a.m. approaches. Engineers arriving early to run final checks. Maintenance crews preparing the demonstration area. Security personnel setting up barriers. Everyone moves with heightened energy of people preparing for something important. Something that could change everything. I finish cleaning and return my equipment to the storage closet. I change back into my street clothes, jeans, and a plain button-down shirt. Nothing remarkable. In the small mirror above the sink, I examine my reflection. A tired man in his mid-30s, lines around his eyes from worry and late nights, hair that needs cutting, the kind of face you'd pass on the street and never remember. Perfect camouflage for someone who doesn't want to be seen. At 7:45 a.m., I clock out. My shift is over. I can leave right now. Go home. Pick up Emma from Mrs. Wallace's apartment. Make her breakfast. Help her get ready for school. Pretend none of this happened. But Carlos was right. Revolution has consequences, and some consequences can't be avoided, only faced. So instead of leaving, I find myself walking back into the hangar. The space has been transformed, all the work lights removed, the floor polished to mirror shine by the day crew. The Skyhawk prototype positioned perfectly in the center like a jewel in a display case. Chairs set up for visitors. A podium ready for Elizabeth's presentation. The engineering team stands in nervous cluster near the prototype. When they see me, several nod in acknowledgement. Robert raises a hand in greeting. Jennifer smiles, uncertain. You came back. William Carter appears at my elbow. I wasn't sure you would. I finish what I start. Even when it might destroy you, especially then. The hangar doors open and General Anderson arrives with his entourage. Military precision in every movement, every medal earned. Behind him come procurement officers, international representatives, people whose decisions will determine whether Elizabeth Morgan's company thrives or fails. And behind them all, making an entrance timed for maximum impact, comes Elizabeth Morgan herself. She wears power like other people wear clothing. A charcoal suit that probably costs more than my car. Heels that add 3 inches to her height. Hair and makeup perfect despite the early hour. Her eyes sweep the hangar, cataloging everything. When they land on the prototype helicopter, something shifts in her expression. Relief, perhaps, or vindication. Then her gaze finds me, standing at the edge of the assembled crowd, and her expression shifts again into something I can't quite read. She walks directly to me. Mr. Torres, her voice carries just far enough for nearby people to hear. I'm told you had quite an adventurous night, that you took it upon yourself to interfere with my engineer's work. She pauses, letting the word interfere hang in the air like accusation. I'm also told that the helicopter is now operational. Curious timing, wouldn't you say? I cleaned a valve, Ms. Morgan. That's all. That's all. Her smile is sharp enough to cut. My engineers tell me you diagnosed and repaired a problem that had stumped them for hours. They tell me you demonstrated expertise that seems rather unusual for someone whose primary job qualification is operating a mop. I pay attention. You'd be surprised what you learn when people don't notice you're there. Something flickers across her face. Anger, maybe, or recognition of the implied criticism. Around us, people have stopped their conversations to watch. General Anderson observing with focused attention of someone trained to assess tactical situations. Well, her voice drops to something meant only for my ears. It seems I owe you a kiss. Isn't that what we agreed? If you succeeded in your little adventure, I would reward you with a kiss in front of everyone. We agreed to a wager. Whether it's an adventure or basic maintenance depends on perspective. And what's your perspective, Mr. Torres? I look past her at the prototype helicopter, at the machine that represents so much ambition and investment and hope. My perspective is that sometimes the most important work gets done by people no one notices, and that credentials matter less than competence. Her eyes narrow. Is that a judgment on my leadership? It's an observation on human nature, Ms. Morgan. Make of it what you will. For a long moment, we stand locked in silent confrontation. The CEO who built an empire, the janitor who saved it. Then Elizabeth steps back, professional smile returning. Ladies and gentlemen, her voice fills the hangar. Before we begin today's demonstration, I have a small matter to attend to. Last night I made a wager with Mr. Michael Torres, one of our night shift custodial staff. I promised him a kiss if he could repair our prototype. And it seems, against all reasonable odds, he succeeded. She turns back to me. In her eyes I see something calculated and cruel. Come here, Mr. Torres. Claim your prize. The hangar goes silent. Every eye on us. Engineers, military officers, executives, international representatives. I feel the weight of their attention like physical pressure. The expectation of humiliation or triumph, of spectacle to remember. I don't move. I don't want your kiss, Ms. Morgan. My voice is clear. I never did. Her eyebrows rise. Oh, then what do you want? Money? A promotion? Recognition? But what nobody in that room knew was this one moment would destroy everything I'd built to stay invisible. I want the lights fixed in my daughter's school workshop. The words come steady, certain. Lincoln Elementary. The STEM lab has been running on half power for 6 months because the school board says they don't have funds for electrical repairs. My daughter does her robotics work by flashlight while your company spends $200 million on a single prototype. I pause, letting that sink in. Fix the lights. That's my price. The silence deepens. Elizabeth Morgan stares at me as if I've spoken a foreign language. You're refusing a kiss from me and asking for school repairs instead? I'm asking you to prove that your company values education as much as it values defense contracts. My daughter and her classmates shouldn't have to work in the dark while we build machines to fly in the light. Something changes in the quality of silence. General Anderson is smiling slightly now. Several international representatives are nodding, and Elizabeth Morgan's expression has shifted into something complex and unreadable. Done, she says. I'll have my people contact the school board today. The repairs will be completed within the week. She extends her hand. It seems, Mr. Torres, that you're not just good at fixing helicopters. You're good at exposing what's broken in the people who build them. I shake her hand. Her grip is different this time. Not the practiced firmness of a business deal, but something more genuine, more uncertain. I hope that's not the only thing you learn from tonight, Ms. Morgan. Then I turn and walk toward the exit, leaving behind the demonstration, the spectacle, the whole architecture of power and prestige. I have a daughter to wake up, breakfast to make, a normal life to return to. Behind me, Elizabeth Morgan watches me go, and for the first time in years, she feels something she'd almost forgotten. Shame. The morning sun is already warm on my face as I walk across the parking lot toward my 15-year-old Honda with its temperamental starter and cracked windshield. My hands are steady, my breathing even, but inside my chest something is unraveling. The careful control I've maintained for 18 months. The boundaries I've drawn between who I am and who I used to be. I've made it halfway to my car when I hear footsteps behind me. Mr. Torres, Michael. Wait. William Carter jogs toward me, tie loosened, expression urgent. You can't just leave, not after what just happened in there. My shift is over. I have a daughter who needs breakfast. Elizabeth Morgan is about to demonstrate a helicopter that only works because of you. General Anderson and his team are going to watch it fly. And when they ask who fixed it, because they will ask, what do you think she's going to say? That's not my concern. It should be. He moves closer, lowering his voice. I know what you're doing. I recognize it because I've seen it before. You're competent at something that matters, but you're hiding from it. And I'm guessing you have good reasons. But Michael, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. People saw what you did. Elizabeth saw it. And she's not going to let this go. I didn't embarrass her. I asked for lights in a school workshop. You refused her kiss and asked for something that made her look petty and small in front of military leadership and international representatives. He meets my eyes. You did it quietly, respectfully, but you still did it. And Elizabeth Morgan doesn't forgive people who make her look small. I unlock my car door. Then I guess I'll deal with the consequences when they arrive. Right now, I need to go home. I drive through early morning traffic, my mind cataloging everything that changed in the past 8 hours. The engineers know my face now, know my name. Elizabeth Morgan made our interaction public, turned it into theater. and I responded by asking for something that revealed more about my priorities than any resume ever could. Stupid, reckless, exactly the kind of visibility I've spent 18 months avoiding. But when I pull up in front of our apartment building, a low-rise structure in a neighborhood trying hard to be called up and coming, and climb the stairs to the third floor, all of that fades into background noise. Mrs. Wallace opens her door before I can knock. Behind her, still in her pajamas with dark hair tangled from sleep, stands Emma. "Daddy." She launches herself at me with absolute confidence of a 7-year-old who knows she'll be caught. I sweep her up, feeling her familiar weight, breathing in strawberry shampoo. "Hey, sweetheart, did you sleep okay?" Mrs. Wallace let me stay up an extra 30 minutes to finish my robot's arm joint. Her words tumble over each other in excitement. "It moves now, Daddy. Like actually moves when I press the button." "Want to see?" "Of course I want to see." "Thank you," I mouth to Mrs. Wallace over Emma's head. She nods, expression knowing. "Always a pleasure. She's a good girl, smart like her father." Something in her tone makes me look up sharply. But Mrs. Wallace's face is innocent. I carry Emma back to our apartment. It's small, a 1-bedroom I converted into 1.5 by hanging curtains to section off part of the living room for Emma's space. Her bed is neatly made, stuffed animals arranged by size, her bookshelf organized exactly the way Jennifer used to organize things. She shows me the robot, a boxy frame from a birthday kit, augmented with scavenged parts and hardware store finds. Her small hands move with surprising precision as she demonstrates the arm mechanism, a servo motor connected to a control board she wired herself. "See? I press this button and the arm moves up. This button makes it move down, and I'm working on making it grab things, but that's harder because I need better motors and the ones at school don't work right because the electrical system keeps cutting out." "I know, sweetheart, but that's going to be fixed soon." She looks up at me with Jennifer's dark eyes. "How do you know?" "Because I asked someone to fix it, someone who has the resources to make it happen." "Who?" I hesitate. How do you explain Elizabeth Morgan to a 7-year-old? "Someone at my work, someone who needed help with something. And when I helped them, I asked for something in return, like trading." Her face scrunches in concentration. "We learned about that in social studies. Bartering, when you exchange goods or services without using money." "Exactly like that." I smooth her tangled hair. "Now, how about we get you some breakfast and then you can tell me more about your robot while I make us pancakes." "Can I help make them? You can measure the ingredients." "But wash your hands first." She scrambles up and runs to the bathroom, footsteps loud in our small apartment. I stand more slowly, my body reminding me I've been awake for 24 hours straight. We work together in the kitchen, really just a galley space with narrow counter and aging appliances. Emma measures flour with intense concentration, tongue poking between her teeth. I crack eggs and mix batter while she narrates her robotics plans, improvements she wants to make, features she's imagining, problems she's trying to solve. Mrs. Patterson says I'm the best in the robotics club. She watches the first pancake bubble on the griddle. She says I have natural talent. What does that mean? It means you're good at something without having to try too hard. I flip the pancake, golden brown and perfect. But natural talent only gets you so far, sweetheart. It's what you do with it that matters. The practice, the effort, the not giving up when things get difficult. Is that what you did with your talent? The spatula pauses in my hand. What do you mean? You're good at fixing things, really good. I see how you look at stuff that's broken, like you can just see what's wrong inside it, and then you fix it and it works again. That's talent, right? Natural talent, I suppose so. But mostly it's just experience, paying attention to how things work. Mrs. Wallace says you're too smart to be a janitor. Emma drowns her pancake in syrup, oblivious to how her words land. She says smart people should do important jobs. Is being a janitor not important? All jobs are important if they're done well. I serve her the first pancake. And being your dad is the most important job I have. That's why I work nights. So I can be here when you need me during the day, but don't you miss doing other stuff? Important stuff. I look at my daughter, at her syrup-sticky face and her too serious expression, at Jennifer's eyes asking questions I don't know how to answer. Nothing is more important than you. You understand that? She nods, but something in her eyes suggests she doesn't quite believe me, or doesn't understand why her importance requires my diminishment. We finish breakfast. I clean up the kitchen while Emma gets dressed for school. When she emerges, I notice her shoes again, the canvas worn through at the toes, the laces fraying. With the director's salary Elizabeth offered, I could buy her new shoes every month, a whole closet full. But accepting that salary means accepting visibility, accepting questions, accepting the risk that someone will dig deep enough to find Captain Michael Torres, the man who chose helicopters over his dying wife. At the bus stop, Emma hugs me extra tight. Love you, Daddy. Love you too, sweetheart. More than helicopters or jobs or anything else. She boards the bus. I watch it pull away, carrying her toward a day of school and robotics and dreams of building things. And I think about the lights that will soon illuminate her workshop, about the conversation I'll need to have with Elizabeth Morgan, about 547 days of hiding ending in a single night. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answer. Mr. Torres, this is Sarah Bennett from Channel 7 News. We understand you advocated for Lincoln Elementary's STEM program. We'd like to interview you about... I hang up, but my hands are shaking. The media knows. Of course they know. Elizabeth Morgan's company probably issued a press release about their charitable donation. And now reporters want the human interest story, the janitor who asked for lights instead of glory. Another text appears, this one from a number I recognize. William Carter. Emergency. Prototype showing system failures during final checks. Need you at facility, now. I stare at the message. Emma just went to school. I could go help, could fix whatever's wrong, could continue being indispensable. Or I could go home, sleep, let them solve their own problems, stay invisible. But what nobody in that room knew was, I'd already made my choice the moment I touched that helicopter. You can't unknow what you know, can't unfeel competence once it wakes up, can't go back to invisible once someone's really seen you. I get in my car and drive toward Morgan Aviation, toward whatever comes next, toward the end of hiding and the beginning of something I don't have a name for yet. The morning traffic is building. Rush hour commuters heading to offices and jobs and lives that don't involve helicopters or choices or 7-year-old girls working by flashlight. I think about Jennifer, about what she'd say if she could see me now. Being needed feels like love, but it's not the same thing. She was right. I'd spent 3 years confusing the two, thinking that being needed by Emma meant hiding from everything else, that being present meant being invisible. Maybe it was time to learn the difference. The parking lot at Morgan Aviation is fuller than it should be at 9 a.m. on a Friday. I recognize the problem before I'm through the front entrance. Too many executive vehicles, too much controlled panic in the way people move through the glass doors. Something's broken and they can't fix it. The receptionist's eyes widen when she sees me. Mr. Torres, they're waiting for you in the main hangar. She doesn't ask for ID, doesn't question why a night shift janitor is showing up during day hours. Word has spread that fast. The hangar buzzes with urgent energy. Engineers cluster around the Skyhawk prototype, their body language screaming frustration. Diagnostic panels glow angry red. William Carter stands on the observation deck, phone pressed to his ear, face gray. When he sees me, relief floods his expression. Thank God. He ends the call and descends the stairs 2 at a time. We're seeing cascading system failures across multiple platforms. Started an hour ago during pre-demo power-up sequence. The aircraft won't even initialize now. What were you running? Full operational sequence at maximum performance parameters. Prep for the certification flight this afternoon. General Anderson moved his schedule up. He's arriving at 2 p.m. instead of tomorrow. We have 5 hours. Robert Harris emerges from beneath the helicopter, grease on his hands, defeat on his face. Michael, his voice carries exhaustion. Everything was perfect at 0700. Then we started the final systems check and it all went to hell. Avionics offline, power management throwing critical errors, flight controls unresponsive. Show me the error logs. For the next 20 minutes, I study data on tablets and diagnostic screens. The engineers watch me with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Last night's miracle doesn't guarantee today's salvation. My eyes track through cascading failure patterns, timestamp sequences, system interdependencies. This isn't mechanical. The realization comes with certainty born from 15 years of troubleshooting under pressure. This is software. Something in the integrated control system is creating a feedback loop that's shutting down safety protocols. We checked the software 3 times. Robert's voice edges toward defensive. Every line of code has been verified, every integration tested. There's nothing wrong with the programming. Then the problem isn't in the code itself. I pull up the network architecture diagram on the main screen. It's in how the systems are communicating. When you run at maximum performance parameters, you're pushing data through these pathways faster than normal operation, if there's even a microsecond delay in any handshake protocol. The safety systems interpret it as failure and shut everything down to prevent damage. Jennifer Watts joins us, tablet in hand. But we've tested the communication protocols exhaustively. They're designed to handle much higher data rates than we're using. Designed to, yes. I zoom in on specific subsystem connections. But are they actually doing it? Show me the timing logs from this morning's test. Specifically, millisecond-level timing of data exchanges between avionics and power management. The logs take 15 minutes to compile and display. When they appear, I point to a repeating pattern, subtle but consistent. There, see that spike? The avionics system is requesting power allocation data, but power management is delayed by exactly 7 milliseconds in responding. It's systematic, which means it's not random. Something in the power management system is taking 7 milliseconds longer to process requests than avionics expects. 7 milliseconds shouldn't matter. Robert leans closer to the screen. The safety margins are much larger than that. Normally, yes. But when you're running at maximum performance with maximum data exchange rates, that 7 millisecond delay compounds with each exchange. Eventually, you hit a threshold where the avionics system decides power management isn't responding fast enough. Then it triggers a safety shutdown to prevent what it interprets as a power system failure. The engineers exchange glances. Elizabeth Morgan has appeared on the observation deck, watching us work. She doesn't interrupt, but her presence adds weight to the air. Can it be fixed? William's question carries the weight of 400 jobs. Yes, but we need to find why power management has that delay. I turn to the assembled team. Who wrote the power management software? An uncomfortable silence falls. Finally, a young engineer I vaguely recognize steps forward. Name badge reads Brian Foster, Junior Software Engineer. I did, sir. Under Dr. Mitchell's supervision. We followed all specification requirements exactly. I'm sure you did. I soften my tone because I recognize the fear in his eyes, the terror of having made a mistake that might cost everything. But specifications don't always account for real-world system integration. Walk me through your code architecture, specifically how you handle incoming data requests. Brian pulls up his code on a nearby workstation. The architecture is clean, well-structured, exactly what you'd expect from someone trained in proper software engineering practices. I study it with Robert and Jennifer looking over my shoulder, searching for the bottleneck. There, buried in a subroutine that handles request prioritization. You're sorting incoming requests by priority before processing them, which is good practice for ensuring critical requests get handled first. But the sorting algorithm you're using, it's adding processing time that wasn't accounted for in the timing specifications. Brian's face goes pale, but it's a standard sorting algorithm, textbook implementation. It should be efficient enough. It is efficient. But efficient enough depends on context. When you're handling hundreds of requests per second at maximum performance, even a highly optimized sorting algorithm adds measurable delay. I pull up the algorithm's computational complexity analysis. 7 milliseconds per request cycle. Exactly what we're seeing in the logs. So we just remove the sorting? Jennifer asks. No, the sorting serves a purpose. You need priority handling for safety-critical commands. I'm already sketching modifications on a whiteboard. We modify the algorithm to use a faster implementation for high-throughput scenarios. Instead of sorting every request, we use a priority queue structure that maintains order as requests arrive. More complex to implement, but it reduces processing time by about 80%. Brian stares at the whiteboard. That's actually brilliant, but it'll take hours to implement and test properly. Then we'd better get started. I hand him a marker. You know your code better than anyone. I'll guide the architecture, but you'll do the actual implementation. Questions? He shakes his head, already focused on the problem. For the next 2 hours, I work with Brian while the rest of the engineering team watches and occasionally contributes. It's collaborative work, me explaining reasoning forged in combat zones where software failures meant casualties, him translating that into code that meets modern safety standards. His fear gradually transforms into engaged interest as he sees the solution taking shape. Elizabeth Morgan descends from the observation deck as we approach completion. She doesn't speak, just observes with that calculating gaze. I'm acutely aware that my shirt is rumpled from yesterday, that I haven't slept in 26 hours, that I'm operating on coffee and adrenaline. Run the simulation. I step back from the workstation. Full maximum performance parameters. Let's see if the timing issue is resolved. Brian executes the test sequence. Diagnostic panels flicker to life, status indicators turning green. The simulation runs through the complete operational envelope. Maximum speed, maximum altitude, maximum maneuvering. No warnings, no shutdowns, just smooth, perfect operation. When the simulation completes successfully, the engineering bay erupts in relieved celebration. Brian looks like he might cry from the release of tension. Robert claps me on the shoulder with genuine admiration. Even Dr. George Mitchell, who questioned my credentials weeks ago in another timeline, nods in approval from across the room. Elizabeth approaches as the team begins shutting down the test equipment. You just saved our certification timeline. Her voice is quiet enough that only I hear. If we'd gone into final testing this afternoon with that bug, we would have failed in front of General Anderson. It would have delayed the contract by months. Possibly cost us the deal entirely. Brian would have found it eventually. He's smart, just inexperienced with how systems behave under extreme conditions. But he didn't find it. You did, in less than 3 hours. She pauses, studying my face. You know what impresses me most? It's not just that you found the problem. It's that you taught him how to prevent it from happening again. That's leadership. I need to get home. The words come out more abruptly than I intend. My daughter gets out of school in 6 hours and I haven't slept, of course. But Michael, before you go, there's something I want to discuss, not today, but soon, about your role here, about the future of our engineering department, about what we're building together. I'm not building anything. I fixed a valve and helped debug some code. That's all. Her eyes hold something I haven't seen before, uncertainty mixed with determination. That's not all, and you know it. But go, sleep. We'll talk next week. I walk out of the hangar into bright midday sun. My car is where I left it, looking shabby among the German sedans and electric vehicles in the executive lot. Inside, I rest my forehead against the steering wheel and let exhaustion wash over me. My phone buzzes, a text from Mrs. Wallace. Saw the news. Lincoln Elementary getting new STEM equipment, not just lights. $50,000 donation from Morgan Aviation. Emma is beside herself with excitement. What did you do? I stare at the message. $50,000. Elizabeth didn't just fix the lights, she funded the entire program. Computers, robotics kits, 3D printers, everything Mrs. Crawford has been begging the school board for. The phone rings. Unknown number again. I almost don't answer, but something makes me pick up. Mr. Torres, this is Ashley Crawford from Lincoln Elementary. Her voice trembles with emotion. I don't know what you said to Morgan Aviation, but they just committed $50,000 to our STEM program. $50,000. Do you understand what this means for these children? I mentioned the lights needed fixing. You changed lives. These kids, students like Emma, they have potential that's being wasted because we don't have resources. And you gave us resources. How do I even begin to thank you? Just take care of the students, Mrs. Crawford. That's thanks enough. After she hangs up, I sit in the parking lot and think about ripples. About how one moment of frustration led to fixing a helicopter, which led to asking for lights, which led to $50,000 for children I'll never meet. About how hiding for 18 months might have been the wrong kind of safety. I drive home through afternoon traffic, mind too wired for sleep despite bone-deep exhaustion. At the apartment, I stand in the shower until the hot water runs cold, trying to wash away the feeling that my life is spinning out of control. When I finally collapse into bed, sleep won't come. I stare at the ceiling and think about Jennifer, about the last conversation we had before I deployed. Her asking me to request a stateside assignment, me explaining why the mission mattered, why they needed me specifically, why I had to go. Being needed feels like love, but it's not the same thing. I didn't understand what she meant then, thought she was being unreasonable, not seeing the bigger picture. Now I understand perfectly. Being needed is ego. Being loved is sacrifice, and I'd chosen ego disguised as duty. My phone vibrates with an email notification. The sender is Elizabeth Morgan, subject line, employment offer, review at your convenience. I don't open it. Instead, I turn off the phone and pull the covers over my head like a child hiding from monsters. But the monsters are inside now. Ambition, incompetence, and the terrible knowledge that I'm good at something that almost destroyed me once already. At 2:45, I force myself up and drive to Emma's school. Other parents gather at the pickup area, chatting about weekend plans and soccer games and the mundane concerns of people whose lives make sense. I stand apart, feeling like an imposter. Emma bursts through the doors at 3:15, face radiant. Daddy, did you hear? Did Mrs. Wallace tell you? They're getting us real equipment, computers and robots and everything. She crashes into me with enough force to nearly knock me over. I did hear. That's wonderful, sweetheart. Mrs. Crawford says someone donated all the money. Was it you? Did you do this? I helped someone understand why it was important. Emma pulls back to look at my face with Jennifer's penetrating gaze. You look tired. Long night at work, fixing helicopters? The question stops me cold. How does she know about the helicopters? Mrs. Wallace told me. She said you used to fix helicopters in the Army, that you were really important. Why didn't you tell me? Because that was a long time ago, sweetheart. I'm different now, but you're still good at it, right? You didn't forget how? We walk to the car, her hand in mine, and I struggle with how to explain. No, I didn't forget, but being good at something doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. Sometimes you choose other things that matter more, like being my dad, exactly like being your dad. At home, Emma shows me sketches for an improved robot design, plans that would have been impossible to execute in the old workshop, but are suddenly achievable with the new equipment. Her excitement is infectious despite my exhaustion. We spend the afternoon at the kitchen table, her explaining mechanical principles while I offer suggestions born from years of practical application. At 5:30, my phone rings. I've turned it back on despite better judgment. The caller ID shows Elizabeth Morgan's office line. Mr. Torres. Her executive assistant's voice is professionally warm. Ms. Morgan would like to schedule a meeting with you, Monday at 2 p.m. if that works with your schedule. I have to pick up my daughter at 3:15. Understood. 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. then. The meeting is regarding employment opportunities within the engineering division. Ms. Morgan asked me to mention that she's prepared to accommodate your parenting schedule. After I agree and hang up, Emma looks up from her sketches. Was that about a job? Maybe. A different job than cleaning? Maybe. Would you be happier? The question hits like a physical blow. What makes you think I'm not happy now? You look sad sometimes, when you come home from work, like you're carrying something heavy. I pull her into my lap, breathing in strawberry shampoo and innocence. I'm not sad, baby, just tired sometimes. But if you had a different job, would you be less tired? Would you smile more? How do I explain to a 7-year-old that the job isn't what makes me tired? It's the hiding. That every night mopping floors while watching engineers struggle with problems I could solve in minutes creates a special kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with physical labor? I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe. Then I think you should try it. Her logic is simple, unassailable. If it makes you happier and you can still be my dad, why not? Because I start, then stop. Because why not? Because I'm afraid, because taking a better job means admitting I was wrong to hide? Because success feels like betraying Jennifer's memory? We'll see. It's the best I can manage. Saturday morning, Emma wakes me at 7 by jumping on the bed. Robotics Club is having a special Saturday session to see the new equipment being delivered. Can we go? Please, please, please. We arrive at Lincoln Elementary to find organized chaos. Delivery trucks parked outside the STEM building. Workers carrying boxes of computers, robotics kits, equipment that still has that fresh from the factory smell. Ashley Crawford directs traffic with the focused intensity of a general commanding troops. When she sees me, she stops everything and walks over. I wanted to thank you in person. Her eyes are wet. 27 years I've been teaching. 27 years of begging for resources, fighting bureaucracy, watching talented kids give up because we couldn't give them the tools they needed. And you changed that in one night. I just mentioned it to someone. You did more than mention it. She gestures at the delivery trucks. This is a complete program overhaul, enough to serve 300 students across 5 schools in the district. Morgan Aviation didn't just donate money. They're sending volunteer engineers to teach monthly workshops. They're creating pathways for students to intern at the company. They're building a pipeline from elementary STEM to actual careers. The scope of it steals my breath. I asked for lights. And Elizabeth Morgan heard what you were really asking for. She wipes her eyes. I've dealt with corporate donors before. They write checks for tax breaks and publicity. This is different. This is someone who actually cares because you made them care. Emma has already disappeared into the workshop where other students gather around the new equipment like it's Christmas morning. Through the window, I watch her explain servo mechanisms to a younger student, her hands gesturing with the same precision I use when working on engines. Mrs. Crawford follows my gaze. She has a gift, you know that, right? Not just for robotics, for seeing how things fit together, for solving problems. She gets that from you. Maybe, or maybe Jennifer. Both, I think. She pauses. Can I ask you something personal? Go ahead. Emma told the class her mom died when she was 4. That you raised her alone. That must be incredibly hard. Some days are harder than others. She seems well-adjusted, happy, confident. Whatever you're doing as a father, it's working. The compliment lands in a tender place. I'm trying. That's all. That's more than many people manage. She starts to walk back toward the delivery coordination, then turns. One more thing. Emma mentioned you used to fix helicopters. Is that true? In another life. Well, I'm glad you're in this life now, where you can fix things that matter for children. After she leaves, I think about that phrasing, things that matter, as if helicopters don't matter, as if keeping aircraft flying in war zones doesn't matter. But maybe she's right. Maybe there are different kinds of mattering, and I've been measuring value wrong. The weekend passes in a blur of normalcy. Grocery shopping with Emma, playground time, helping her build increasingly complex circuits on the kitchen table with components from her new robotics kit. She falls asleep Saturday night with her head on my shoulder during movie night, and I carry her to bed thinking about how these moments are what Jennifer wanted me to have. This presence, this peace. Sunday evening, I finally open Elizabeth's email. The offer is detailed, professionally formatted, carefully constructed to address every concern I might have. Senior Aviation Engineering Consultant. Annual salary $120,000, flexible schedule. Core hours 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, work from home is needed. Full benefits, including health insurance that would actually cover Emma's orthodontist visits. Vacation time, sick leave, the kind of stability I haven't had since I left the military. But there's a second document attached, an employment agreement that requires background verification, reference checks, education credential confirmation. All the things my falsified janitor application avoided. I close the laptop and stare at the wall. Accepting means letting them investigate Michael Torres, means risking they'll find Captain Michael Torres, means answering questions about the 18-month gap between discharge and the janitor job, means potentially exposing the depression, the failed employment attempts. The month Emma spent with Mrs. Wallace because I couldn't function. My phone rings. William Carter. Michael, sorry to bother you on Sunday. I know you're with Emma. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Actually, everything's right for once. General Anderson's certification flight went perfectly this afternoon. Flawless performance on every metric. We got preliminary approval for the $300 million contract. That's excellent news. It is, and it's because of you. The fuel valve fix, the software debugging. You saved this contract. His voice drops. Elizabeth wants you to know she's serious about the job offer. Whatever concerns you have, whatever's holding you back, she wants to address them. I appreciate that. There's something else. He hesitates. I submitted my report about your contributions to the board of directors. They want to meet you. Formally recognize your work. There's talk of a bonus, public acknowledgement, maybe even press coverage. No. The word comes out harder than I intend. No press, no public acknowledgement, just no. Michael, I understand wanting to keep a low profile, but you don't understand. I cut him off. You can't understand. Just tell Elizabeth I'll meet with her Monday, 2 p.m., but no press. After I hang up, Emma appears in her pajamas. Who was that? Someone from work? Are they making you do interviews like on TV? No interviews. Good. She climbs onto the couch beside me. I don't want other people knowing about you. I want you to be just my dad. The simple possessiveness of it nearly breaks me. I am just your dad. That's the most important thing. But you can be other things too, right? Like an engineer and my dad? Maybe. We'll see. Monday morning arrives with the weight of decision. I dress carefully, not the janitor coveralls, not quite business formal. Khakis and a button-down shirt, the clothes of a man trying to figure out who he is. Emma studies me at breakfast. You look nice. Thanks, sweetheart. Are you nervous? A little. Don't be. She speaks with absolute 7-year-old certainty. You're really good at fixing things. They're lucky to have you. I drop her at school and drive to Morgan Aviation with my stomach in knots. The parking lot feels different in daylight. Less my territory, more theirs. I park in visitor parking even though several people wave at me as I walk toward the entrance. The receptionist smiles. Mr. Torres, Ms. Morgan is expecting you. Conference room 12B, third floor. The elevator ride up feels like ascending to judgment. When the doors open, William Carter is waiting. Thanks for coming. He extends his hand and I shake it, noting how different this feels from our first interaction. Elizabeth is ready whenever you are. Conference room 12B has floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the main hangar. I can see the Skyhawk prototype being prepared for something, probably another demonstration. Elizabeth sits at the head of the table, tablet in front of her, reading glasses perched on her nose. She looks up when I enter and something in her expression shifts. Michael, thank you for coming. Please sit. I take a seat across from her, acutely aware of William positioning himself near the door, present but not participating. I assume you reviewed the offer. Elizabeth removes her glasses, giving me her full attention. I did. And it's generous. More than generous. But I have concerns about the background check. It's not a question. She's already thought this through. Among other things, yes. Elizabeth pulls a folder from beside her tablet and slides it across the table. I've already conducted a background check, informally, through contacts I have in military procurement. My chest tightens. Inside the folder is a document heavily redacted, stamped with classification markings. But I can read enough. Captain Michael Torres, Aviation Engineering Specialist, multiple deployments. Distinguished Service Medal, discharge reason, family emergency, service record classified. A colonel I know, he's worked with us on several contracts, was very careful in what he told me. She taps the folder. Some people leave military service for personal reasons. Their expertise is missed, but their choice is respected. That's all he said. That, and that your privacy should be honored. I stare at the document, at the proof of who I used to be preserved in bureaucratic language. I'm not going to pry into what happened. Elizabeth's voice is gentler than I've ever heard it. I'm not going to demand explanations for the gap in your employment history or why you were working as a janitor. What I'm going to do is make you an offer that respects both who you were and who you're choosing to be now. She pulls out a second document. Part-time position, 20 hours per week, your choice of schedule. Work from home when Emma needs you. $60,000 annually, prorated for hours. And one additional stipulation. If you ever need to leave for a school emergency, a sick child, anything related to being a parent, you leave. No questions asked. No consequences. Why? The question escapes before I can stop it. Why accommodate me like this? Because 3 nights ago, you asked for lights in a school instead of glory. Her eyes meet mine. That told me everything I needed to know about your priorities. And because watching you teach Brian Foster how to solve that software problem showed me what real leadership looks like. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about making everyone in the room smarter. I look at the contract, at the salary that would let me move Emma to a better apartment, buy her proper shoes, stop worrying about every dollar. There's something else. I force the words out. If I take this job, people are going to ask questions. Your engineers already are. And I won't talk about my military service, about what I did or why I left or any of it. You don't have to. Elizabeth's response is immediate. Your work here speaks for itself. Anyone who questions your qualifications after what you've accomplished in the past 72 hours isn't someone whose opinion matters. The cruelest thing about climbing out of the working class isn't forgetting where you came from. It's remembering and choosing to keep climbing anyway. The words come out unbidden, and I see them land. Elizabeth's face changes, a crack in the perfect executive mask. My father was a machinist at Boeing. Her voice is barely above a whisper. 30 years on the floor. Never promoted past supervisor because he didn't have a degree. He died of a heart attack at his station when I was 16. I'm sorry. My mother cleaned houses to put me through MIT. 3 jobs, 20-hour days, so I could have the opportunities they never got. She leans forward. I built this company to prove that a machinist's daughter could lead, that we weren't disposable, that credentials didn't define worth. She pauses and I see something break in her eyes. But somewhere in proving I wasn't invisible, I started making other people disappear. I became exactly what my father hated, someone who judges people by their degrees instead of their abilities. We sit in silence for a moment, two people from the same broken place looking at each other across a conference table. I'll take the job. The decision crystallizes as I speak. But I need to talk to Emma first, make sure she understands what it means. Of course. Elizabeth slides the contract toward me. Take it home. Review it with her. We'll make this work around your family. There's one more thing. I gather my courage. The press attention William mentioned. The board wanting to recognize my work publicly. I can't do that. Understood. We'll handle the board. As far as anyone outside this company knows, our engineering team solved the problems. You'll be listed as a consultant in internal documentation only. Thank you. I stand to leave, but Elizabeth stops me. Michael, thank you for fixing the helicopters, yes, but more for reminding me what actually matters. I'd forgotten, and I think my father would be disappointed in who I'd become. I think he'd be proud of who you're becoming now. That afternoon, I pick Emma up from school at 3:15 as always. She climbs into the car, chattering about the new robotics equipment, about a circuit she designed, about how Mrs. Crawford says she might be able to enter the state competition. When we get home, I sit her down at the kitchen table. We need to talk about something important. Her face goes serious. Are you in trouble? No, sweetheart. The opposite, actually. I've been offered a new job, a good job, working as an engineer instead of a janitor. But it means some things would change. What things? I'd work during the day instead of at night, 9 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon. I'd be home to pick you up from school still, but I wouldn't be here in the mornings anymore like I am now. Emma processes this with the gravity she brings to complex problems. Would you be happier? The question again. The one that cuts through all my complicated justifications to the simple truth. I think so. I'd be using skills I've been hiding, helping solve problems, teaching other engineers. It feels right. Then you should do it. It's not that simple, baby. This job means people will see me differently, ask questions, want to know about my past, and some of that past is hard to talk about. Because of Mommy? Her directness always catches me off guard. Partly because of Mommy, yes, and partly because of things I did in the Army. Things I'm not proud of. Did you hurt people? No. I kept people safe. Kept helicopters flying so soldiers could come home. But I was gone a lot, away from you and Mommy. And I chose being away because I thought what I was doing was important. Was it important? Yes, but so were you. So was Mommy. And I didn't understand that you could be important in different ways. That being needed isn't the same as being loved. Emma is quiet for a long moment, turning this over in her 7-year-old mind. Mrs. Wallace says Mommy died because a bad man was driving drunk. That it wasn't your fault. It wasn't my fault she died, but it was my choice not to be there. And I've spent 3 years trying to make up for that by always being here for you. But Daddy, you're here, but sometimes you're not really here. Like you're thinking about somewhere else. She reaches across the table to hold my hand. Maybe if you do what you're good at, you'll be more here. The wisdom of it staggers me. Presence isn't just physical location. You can be in the room and still be a ghost, still be hiding, still be somewhere else in your head. You're right. I squeeze her hand. You're absolutely right. How did you get so smart? I have a really good dad who fixes things. We spend the evening at the kitchen table, me explaining the job offer while she asks questions with surgical precision. Will you make more money? Can we get a bigger apartment? Can I have my own room with a door? Will you still come to robotics club? Yes to all of it. I'll still be your dad first. This job works around you, not the other way around. Then do it. Her decision is made. Just promise you'll tell me if work gets too big, if you start choosing helicopters over me again. The phrasing stabs straight through. I promise. You and me, we're a team. We make decisions together. Deal. That night, after Emma is asleep, I sign the contract. My signature looks strange on the page. Michael Torres, Senior Aviation Engineering Consultant, like claiming an identity I thought I'd abandoned. I scan the document and email it to Elizabeth at 10 p.m. Her response comes back in 2 minutes. Welcome aboard. HR will contact you tomorrow about start date and onboarding. Congratulations. Tuesday morning, I wake to Emma jumping on my bed. Today's your first day. Not yet, sweetheart. I have to give notice at my current job first. 2 weeks. But I thought, I need to do this right. Tell Carlos and the other night shift workers I'm leaving. Clean out my locker. Finish my responsibilities. She accepts this with a nod, because that's what good people do. They don't just leave. Exactly. That evening, I show up for my shift at Morgan Aviation and find Carlos already in the break room. When I tell him about the job offer, his face splits into a wide smile. Hermano, this is good, this is right. You were wasting yourself with that mop. I wasn't wasting anything. I was being a father. You can be both. He claps my shoulder. My wife, she always says, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You were emptying yourself, trying to be everything for Emma. Now you fill your cup. You be who you are, and she sees a father who is whole. Over the next 2 weeks, word spreads through the night shift. The janitor who fixed the helicopter, who's becoming an engineer. Some people congratulate me. Others act like I've betrayed them by leaving. Miguel Rodriguez, the other janitor, pulls me aside one night. When you go up there, you remember us down here. The ones who are still invisible. I will. And Miguel, you're not invisible to me. You told me once you were an electrician in Mexico. Before I came here, yes, but my certification, it doesn't transfer. So I clean. What if it could transfer? What if someone helped you get recertified here? His eyes widen. Who would do this? Let me talk to some people. The next day I call Elizabeth. We have 23 employees in this building who are working below their skill level. People with expertise from other countries, other industries, other lives. I want to find them and elevate them. Her response is immediate. Create a proposal, full mentorship program, we'll fund it. On my last night as a janitor, I mop the floors one final time. The familiar rhythm, the chemical smell, the late-night quiet. It's been safety and a prison both. I'll miss the simplicity, won't miss the hiding. Carlos finds me at 2 a.m., brings me coffee. You did good here, Michael. Kept your head down, took care of your daughter. No shame in that, no shame. But no growth either. Growth comes when you're ready. He studies my face. You ready now? I think so. Then go be excellent. And when you get up there, remember, excellence isn't just being good at your job. It's helping other people be good at theirs. 3 days later, I start my new position. William Carter meets me in the lobby with an ID badge that reads, Michael Torres, Senior Consultant. The photo is terrible. I look tired and uncertain, but the badge itself feels like permission. The engineering division has prepared a workspace for me near the main prototype area, not an office. I specified I wanted to work among the teams, not above them. A desk, a computer, access to all the systems I need. Robert Harris stops by mid-morning. Welcome to the land of the living. How does it feel? Ask me in a week. Fair enough. He drops a folder on my desk. Dr. Mitchell wants your input on the H6 fuel efficiency problem. Apparently 8 months of our best engineers can't solve what you might figure out in an afternoon. The challenge is obvious, but I don't rise to the bait. I'll look at it this week. That afternoon, I leave at 2 p.m. sharp. Drive to Emma's school, pick her up at 3:15. The routine is the same, but different. I'm not exhausted from a night shift, not struggling to stay awake during her homework time. How was your first day? She asks in the car. Good. Strange. I kept expecting someone to tell me I didn't belong there, but you do belong. You're really good at engineering. Being good at something doesn't always mean you belong doing it. Why not? The question stops me. Because I don't have a good answer. Maybe it should mean that. Maybe I've been wrong about what belonging mean. That weekend, Emma has her first robotics session with the new equipment. I attend as a parent observer and watch her work with components that would have been impossible before. Her hands move with growing confidence, assembling circuits and programming microcontrollers. Ashley Crawford pulls me aside. She's flourishing with these resources. You should see her when she thinks no one's watching. Pure joy. That's all I want for her. Can I ask you something? What made you ask Elizabeth Morgan for this instead of taking credit for yourself? I think about Jennifer, about promises made and broken, about what actually matters, because being needed feels like love, but it's not the same thing. Emma needed lights in her workshop more than I needed recognition. That's just math. That's not math. Ashley smiles. That's love. Week 3 in my new role, Dr. Mitchell calls an engineering review meeting. The conference room fills with senior staff, people with decades of experience and walls full of degrees. I'm the only one without a PhD, the only one who can't cite publications or academic credentials. Mitchell stands at the head of the table, projecting the H6 fuel efficiency data. 8 months we've been chasing this problem. 8 months of diagnostic dead ends and theoretical models that don't match real-world performance. He looks directly at me. Mr. Torres, William mentioned you'd review the issue. Any insights? 12 pairs of eyes turn toward me. The weight of expertise and skepticism feels like physical pressure. It's not in the fuel system. I pull up my own analysis on the shared screen. Your diagnostics kept pointing there because that's where efficiency losses should manifest. But you were looking at symptoms, not causes. I highlight a section of the flight control logs. The problem is in the altitude sensor calibration, specifically a 0.3% drift that's feeding incorrect data to the power management system. The flight computer keeps making micro-adjustments to compensate for altitude readings that are off by roughly 40 feet. Those constant tiny throttle changes are bleeding efficiency. One of the senior engineers, Dr. Patricia Hammond, leans forward. We calibrated those sensors during assembly. They passed all verification tests. They passed tests at sea level under controlled conditions. I bring up the error pattern analysis. But under operational loads with vibration and temperature fluctuation, that 0.3% drift emerges. It's cumulative, small enough that your tolerance bands don't flag it. But over a 3-hour flight cycle, it adds up to an 8% efficiency loss. The room goes quiet. Mitchell examines the data with the intensity of someone whose worldview is shifting. How did you identify this? Hammond's voice carries professional curiosity rather than challenge. We've had 3 teams analyze these logs. I've seen this failure mode before, in helicopters operating in high-temperature environments where sensor drift becomes critical. You learn to look for patterns in the compensatory throttle adjustments rather than trusting the sensor readings themselves. Another engineer, James Kim, speaks up. If you're right, we can fix this with a software patch. Adjust the calibration parameters to account for operational drift, or install temperature-compensated sensors that maintain accuracy under load. I pull up specs for components we used in theater. They cost about $40 more per unit, but they eliminate this entire class of problem. Mitchell sits back in his chair, studying me with new respect. 8 months, hundreds of engineering hours, and you found it in 72 hours by looking where we weren't looking. You were looking with tools that work in laboratories. I learned to look with tools that work in sandstorms. After the meeting, Hammond stops me in the hallway. That was impressive work, not just the technical analysis the way you explained it. You made complex failure modes accessible without being condescending. Thank you. I mean it. She glances back toward the conference room. Some of us were skeptical when Elizabeth hired you. A janitor turned consultant, no formal credentials, classified military background. It felt like a publicity stunt. And now? Now I'm wondering how many other problems we've been overthinking because we trust our tools more than our intuition. The mentorship program launches the following week. Elizabeth approves my proposal with one modification. She wants it company-wide, not just engineering. Every department, every level, searching for hidden expertise. Miguel Rodriguez is my first success story. I connect him with the facilities director, explain his background, arrange for the company to sponsor his electrical recertification. Within 3 weeks, he's transitioned from night janitor to facilities engineer, working on the same buildings he used to clean. He finds me in the cafeteria one afternoon, eyes wet. 18 años, hermano. 18 years I pushed that mop thinking this was my life now. You gave me back my name. You gave yourself back. I just opened a door, no. He grips my shoulder. You saw me when I was invisible. That's the gift. The program expands rapidly. An assembly line worker named Rachel Kim, who turns out to have a degree in quality assurance from Seoul National University. An administrative assistant named David Chen with advanced statistics training. A warehouse coordinator who was a civil engineer in Venezuela. Within 2 months, we've elevated 12 people. The company's performance metrics start shifting. Fewer defects, faster problem resolution, innovations emerging from unexpected places. Elizabeth calls me to her office in early November. 3 months since that night with the helicopter. 3 months since I stopped hiding. She's looking at quarterly reports when I enter. Sit, please. The view from her office spans the entire facility. I can see the main hangar where the Skyhawk X9 sits, now in production, where I spent 547 nights mopping floors and pretending to be nobody. The mentorship program is exceeding projections. Elizabeth turns from the window. 12 employees elevated to roles matching their skills. Measurable improvements in quality metrics. Several innovation proposals that could save us millions. And something else. Employee satisfaction scores are up 18% company-wide. People like being seen, they do. She sits across from me rather than behind her desk, a subtle shift in dynamic. The board wants to expand the program, allocate significant funding, make it a core part of our culture. That's good. They also want to make you Director of Engineering Operations. Full-time position, complete autonomy over your schedule, $180,000 annually. You'd oversee not just the mentorship program but all engineering operations across our divisions. The number staggers me. 6 times what I made as a janitor. Enough to give Emma everything she needs and more. I can't. The words surprise us both. Elizabeth's expression doesn't change, but something tightens around her eyes. Can't or won't. Both. I chose 20 hours a week specifically so I could be present for Emma. This would require 50, 60 hours, late nights, weekend work, travel. I'd become the person I swore I wouldn't be. We could structure it. No, the firmness in my voice surprises me. I appreciate the confidence you're showing. But I made a promise to my daughter, that she comes first. Always. A bigger title doesn't change that math. Elizabeth nods slowly. I respect that. Though I have to ask, when does being present for Emma mean limiting what you could accomplish? When does protecting her from your absence mean she doesn't see what you're capable of? The question lands like a blade. Maybe when she's older, when she doesn't need me picking her up from school every day. But right now, she's 7. She's already lost her mother. She's not losing her father to ambition disguised as opportunity. All right. Elizabeth stands, signaling the meeting's end. The offer stands if circumstances change, but Michael, you're valuable here, not just for what you do, but for how you do it. Don't underestimate that. Walking to my car, I think about the conversation, about what I'm turning down. Director of Engineering Operations, real power to shape culture, drive innovation, build something meaningful. And I'm saying no because of a 3:15 school pickup. Jennifer's voice echoes in memory. Being needed feels like love. but it's not the same thing. Maybe the inverse is also true. Being loved feels like being needed but requires different choices. Emma's robotics team qualifies for the state competition in December. The news sends her into orbit. We're going to Sacramento for 3 whole days. Can you come, Daddy, please? Of course I'm coming. I wouldn't miss it. But what about work? I have vacation time. And even if I didn't, you're more important than work. She hugs me so hard I can barely breathe. Mrs. Crawford says we might even win, that my robot design is really innovative. The pride in her voice does something to my chest. I believe it. You've worked incredibly hard. Will you help me practice? We have 6 weeks to prepare. Every evening after school, we run through competition scenarios at the kitchen table. Emma's robot has evolved beyond the simple arm mechanism. Now it's a sophisticated multifunction platform with sensors, programmed responses, adaptive behavior. Watching her work reminds me why I made the choices I made. Mid-November, General Anderson returns to Morgan Aviation. Not for a demonstration this time, for a conversation. Elizabeth arranges the meeting in her office with just the 3 of us. Anderson looks older than I remember from his last visit. More gray in his hair, deeper lines around his eyes. Captain Torres, it's good to see you again. It's just Michael now, sir. I've been out 3 years. Once a captain, always a captain. He settles into a chair with the careful movement of someone whose body has logged too many combat deployments. I'm here because we have a situation. Classified, sensitive, and quite frankly, we're out of options. He pulls a folder from his briefcase. 3 Black Hawks grounded in northeastern Syria. Mechanical failures our people can't diagnose remotely. 18 pilots and crew trapped in a hostile area, unable to extract because their birds won't fly. My chest tightens. I'm not active duty anymore. I'm aware. This would be a civilian contract, 2 weeks deployment as a technical consultant. We'd handle all logistics, security, compensation. You'd be there strictly in an advisory capacity in a war zone. The euphemism almost makes me laugh. Sir, I have a 7-year-old daughter. I can't deploy to Syria, I understand. But these are 18 American lives, the same kind of lives you saved dozens of times during your service. The guilt hits exactly where he aimed it. With respect, General, I saved lives by choosing the mission over my family. My wife died while I was deployed. My daughter spent 2 days in foster care because I was keeping helicopters flying 7,000 miles away. I can't make that choice again. Anderson nods, unsurprised. Elizabeth mentioned you'd likely decline. So let me make a different proposal. He pulls out a second document. We're establishing a training program, 2 days per month, stateside, teaching our aviation mechanics the kind of field expertise you have. Real-world problem-solving, pattern recognition, the things you can't learn from manuals. The contract details read cleanly. $5,000 per training session, all expenses covered. Location rotating between bases in Virginia, California, and Texas. $24,000 annually for 48 hours of work. This doesn't send me overseas, never. You'd train the people we send overseas, different battlefields, same mission. I study the document, thinking about Emma, about promises made and kept. I'd need absolute scheduling control. If it conflicts with my daughter's needs, I don't come. Agreed. Anderson extends his hand. We need this, Captain. Not just the training, the perspective. You represent something our service members need to see. That you can serve, sacrifice, and still choose family. That leaving doesn't mean failure. We shake hands and I feel something shift. Not back toward who I was, but forward toward who I might become. That evening I explain the opportunity to Emma over dinner. She listens with the seriousness she brings to complex problems. 2 days a month. So you'd be gone 2 nights? Usually just 1 night. I'd fly out early morning, train all day, fly back the next afternoon. And you'd teach soldiers? Mechanics. People who fix helicopters so soldiers can come home safely. Like what you used to do. Like what I used to do, yes. But I wouldn't be in danger. Just teaching in regular military bases here in America. Would it make you happy? The question again. The one she keeps asking because she sees what I try to hide. I think it would. I'd be using my knowledge to help people, and it wouldn't take me away from you except for 1 or 2 nights a month. Then you should do it. Her decision is immediate, certain. Just promise you'll really come back. Not like when Mommy didn't come back. The pain in her voice cracks something open in my chest. Baby, I will always come back. Always. This isn't like deployment. There's no combat, no danger, just teaching. Okay. But you still have to come to Sacramento for my competition. I wouldn't miss it for anything in the world. The first training session happens the week before Thanksgiving at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. I fly out Monday morning, spend the day with 20 mechanics ranging from new recruits to 30-year veterans, return Tuesday afternoon in time to pick Emma up from school. The mechanics are hungry for practical knowledge. I teach them to look beyond diagnostics, to trust their hands and experience, to recognize patterns that sensors miss. We work on actual helicopters, real problems, the kind of scenarios where textbook answers fail. A young specialist, couldn't be more than 22, approaches me during a break. Sir, how do you stay calm when you know lives depend on getting it right? You don't stay calm, the fear is always there. You just channel it into focus. Every bolt you tighten, every connection you check. That's someone's family member getting home safe. The fear becomes fuel. After the session, the senior instructor, a master sergeant named Williams who's been turning wrenches for 26 years, pulls me aside. That was good work, Captain. Not just the technical content, the way you connected with these kids. They trust you because you've been where they're going. I'm not going anymore. That's the point. You're still going, just in a different direction. He pauses. Can I ask you something personal? Go ahead. Why'd you leave? You were clearly good at this. Made Captain Young, earned decorations, saved lives. Then you just walked away. My wife died while I was deployed. My daughter needed me more than the helicopters did. Williams nods slowly. My wife left me after my 3rd deployment. Said I loved the service more than her. Took our son. I didn't understand it then. Thought she was being selfish, not seeing the bigger picture. And now? Now my son's 23 and I barely know him. I chose being indispensable over being present. He meets my eyes. You made the right call, Captain. The helicopters keep flying without you. But your daughter, she only gets one father. The state robotics competition in Sacramento arrives the first weekend of December. Emma's team consists of 4 students from Lincoln Elementary, all working with the equipment funded by Morgan Aviation's donation. Ashley Crawford coaches them with fierce dedication. We drive up Friday afternoon, Emma chattering the entire 3 hours about strategy, potential challenges, what the other teams might build. I listen and offer occasional thoughts, but mostly I just absorb her excitement. The competition venue is a converted convention center. Hundreds of students, dozens of teams, energy crackling through the air like electricity. Emma's eyes go wide when she sees the scale of it. This is huge, Daddy. You're ready for it. Her team's robot performs flawlessly through the preliminary rounds Saturday morning. By afternoon, they've advanced to semifinals. Emma's programming handles the autonomous navigation challenges better than teams from much larger, better-funded schools. That evening, we eat pizza in the hotel room while she explains the modifications she wants to make for finals tomorrow. Her hands move constantly, gesturing, sketching ideas on napkins, thinking 3 steps ahead. You love this. The words come out before I can stop them. Building things, solving problems, seeing how pieces fit together, it's the best thing in the world. She looks up at me with absolute certainty. Is that how you feel about helicopters? Sometimes, when I'm solving a problem that matters, when I'm teaching someone something that might save their life. Yes. Then why did you stop? Because you mattered more. and I thought I had to choose between being good at something and being good for you. Do you still think that? I'm learning that maybe the choice isn't that simple. Maybe being good at something, really using my gifts, makes me better for you, not worse. Because I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not pretending to be less than I am. Good. Her simple acceptance floors me. Because I want you to be happy, Daddy, and you seem happier now than you did when you were cleaning. Sunday morning, Emma's team makes finals. They're competing against a team from a private school in Palo Alto with professional-grade equipment and a coach who has a PhD in robotics. The odds are steep. But Emma's design philosophy is different. She's built for adaptability rather than perfection, for problem-solving rather than programmed responses. When one of the course challenges changes at the last minute, her robot adjusts where others fail. The final results take 30 minutes to tabulate. Emma grips my hand so hard my fingers go numb. When the announcer calls second place for her team, she screams with pure joy, not first but close enough to prove they belong. Afterward, clutching her silver medal, she finds me in the crowd. We did it, Daddy. We actually did it. You did it, sweetheart. You and your team. I'm so incredibly proud. The private school coach approaches us while Emma celebrates with her teammates. Your daughter has exceptional talent, natural problem-solving ability, and innovative thinking. She pauses. We offer summer programs for advanced students. Full scholarship if she's interested. Emma's at Lincoln Elementary. We're very happy there. I understand. But if you're ever looking for programs that can challenge her at her level, we'd welcome an application. After she leaves, Emma tugs my sleeve. What did she want? To recruit you for their summer program. Do you want me to go? Do you want to go? She thinks about it with characteristic seriousness. No, I like my school. I like Mrs. Crawford, and besides, all my friends are there. Then that's settled. Driving home Sunday afternoon, Emma falls asleep in the passenger seat, medal still clutched in her hand. I think about the coach's offer, about opportunities and choices, about how success opens doors even as it complicates decisions. My phone buzzes with a text from Elizabeth. Congratulations to Emma. I saw the competition results online. Second place from Lincoln Elementary is extraordinary. She gets that problem-solving gift from her father. I don't respond immediately. Instead, I watch Emma sleep and think about gifts. What we inherit, what we choose to develop, what we teach by example. Monday morning, I return to work to find my inbox flooded. The mentorship program has generated a wait list of employees wanting evaluation. The training program with General Anderson has requests from 3 more bases wanting similar sessions. Dr. Mitchell wants my input on another prototype's performance issues. William Carter stops by my desk mid-morning. You're becoming indispensable again. You realize that? The observation lands uncomfortably. I'm just doing my job. Your job was supposed to be 20 hours a week. You're pushing 40 now. He's right. Somewhere in the past month, the boundaries have blurred. Early morning meetings that I tell myself are just quick check-ins. Emails answered at night after Emma's in bed. Weekend hours spent reviewing data because I want problems solved. I need to pull back, maybe. Or maybe you need to reimagine what balance looks like. He leans against my desk. You made a promise to Emma that you'd be present. But being present doesn't mean being diminished. It means being whole, fully engaged in your work and fully engaged with her. Not half present in both places. That's a nice theory. How do you actually do it? You tell me. You're the one who figured out how to be Captain Torres and Michael Torres at the same time. December brings the first snow and an unexpected phone call. The number has a Syrian country code. Against my better judgment, I answer. The voice is familiar. Master Sergeant Roberts, someone I served with in Baghdad. Captain Torres. I got your number from General Anderson. Sorry to call directly, but we've got a situation. I'm not active duty anymore, Roberts, I know. And I'm not asking you to deploy. But these Blackhawks the General mentioned. We got them flying. Barely. And the fix is holding. Barely. We need someone who can review the repair documentation remotely, tell us if we've missed something. Send me the files. That evening, after Emma's asleep, I review the maintenance reports. The mechanics did decent work given their constraints, but there are gaps, places where field expediency created new vulnerabilities. I draft detailed notes, highlighting concerns and recommending reinforcements. Roberts calls back within hours. Captain, this is exactly what we needed. The precision of your analysis, the specific recommendations. You just extended the operational window by weeks. I'm glad I could help. There's something else. His voice drops. I wanted you to know. Word's gotten around about your training program, about what you're teaching stateside mechanics. It's making a difference here. The quality of the people we're getting, their ability to think beyond the manual. That's you. I'm just teaching what I learned. You're teaching people to stay alive. Don't underestimate that. After we hang up, I sit in the dark living room and think about impact. About how helping 18 pilots trapped in Syria doesn't require deploying. About how teaching mechanics in Virginia saves lives in combat zones I'll never see again. You can't save the world by breaking the people who love you. That's not heroism. That's just cowardice in a different uniform. The words form themselves and I realize they're true. The old Michael, Captain Torres, thought sacrifice meant choosing mission over family. The new Michael is learning that sacrifice means choosing both, but in ways that don't destroy either. Christmas approaches with the kind of domestic chaos I've come to treasure. Emma wants to decorate everything, bake cookies for Mrs. Wallace, pick the perfect tree. We spend a Saturday at a tree farm, trudging through snow until she finds one that's absolutely right. Setting it up in our living room, she hangs ornaments while narrating memories. This one Mommy gave me when I was 4. This one Mrs. Wallace made. This one you brought back from... Where was it again? Germany. I was stationed there for 3 months. What did you do there? Kept helicopters flying. Same as everywhere. She hangs the ornament carefully. Do you miss it? The traveling? Sometimes I miss feeling essential. Like what I did mattered on a big scale. But what you do now matters too. Right? Yes. Just differently. I kneel to her level. Back then I helped machines fly. Now I help people fly. By teaching them, supporting them, showing them they're not invisible. I like this version better. She hugs me. The old version was never home. The honesty of it hits hard. You're right. The old version thought being needed somewhere else was more important than being needed here. I was wrong. Elizabeth hosts a company holiday party the week before Christmas. The event is formal. Black tie, catered dinner, the whole production. I almost don't attend, but Emma convinces me. You should go, Daddy. Show everyone your fancy work clothes. I don't have fancy work clothes. Then we'll get you some. We spend a Saturday at the mall, Emma helping me select a suit that doesn't make me look like I'm playing dress-up. The salesperson compliments her eye for style and she glows with pride. At the party, I feel awkward among executives and senior engineers, all of them comfortable in this world of networking and professional socializing. But Miguel finds me near the bar, looking sharp in his new facilities engineer uniform. Hermano, you look uncomfortable. I don't belong at these things, neither do I. But here we are anyway. He grins. You know what I learned? Belonging isn't about comfort, it's about contribution. We contribute, therefore we belong. The mentorship program participants gather for a group photo. 12 people who've been elevated from invisible roles to positions matching their expertise. Elizabeth joins us and I see something in her face I haven't seen before. Pride, yes, but also gratitude. Later she finds me alone on the observation deck overlooking the hangar. That program you built, it's changing lives. You funded it. I just had the idea. Ideas are easy. Implementation is hard. You made this happen because you saw people I'd stopped seeing. She pauses. My father would have liked you. He believed in competence over credentials and practical knowledge over academic theory. I wish I could have met him. He'd be proud of what we're building here. This culture where people matter more than their job titles. She turns to face me. Michael, I know you turned down the director position, and I respect that choice, but I want you to know, whenever you're ready, whatever role makes sense for your life with Emma, there's a place for you here. Thank you. That means more than you know. I make it home by 9 p.m. and Emma's still awake, waiting on the couch with Mrs. Wallace. How was the party? Good. Strange. I showed her the photo of the mentorship program participants. But good. You're doing important work, Daddy. The simple statement from a 7-year-old carries weight that fancy titles and executive recognition never could. New Year's Eve, I make a decision. For 3 years, I've been running from Captain Torres, hiding from who I was, what I'd lost, the guilt I carried. But that version of myself isn't my enemy. He's part of my story, part of what makes me capable now. I pull out the old military footlocker and open it fully for the first time since Jennifer died. Inside are the pieces of that life, uniforms, medals, photographs of people I served with. Some are dead now. Some are still serving. All of them trusted me to keep them flying. Emma finds me sitting on the floor surrounded by memories. What's all this? My old life, before I was your dad. She sits beside me, picking up a photograph. Is that you? You look so young. I was 23 in that picture. First deployment, right out of training. You look happy. I was. I thought I was doing something important. You were, right? Yes, but I didn't understand that importance comes in different forms, that keeping helicopters flying matters, but so does being present for the people who love you. She studies the photograph, then looks at me. Can you be both now? Important for work and important for me? I'm learning how. It's not about choosing one or the other. It's about being whole, bringing all of myself to both parts of my life. January brings a call from General Anderson. The Syria situation has stabilized. All 3 Black Hawks are operational. The 18 trapped personnel safely extracted. He credits the remote consultation I provided as critical to the mission's success. You saved lives without leaving home, Captain. That's a different kind of service. The words settle into a place I didn't know needed filling. The mentorship program expands beyond Morgan Aviation. 3 other aerospace companies contact Elizabeth, asking if we'd consult on implementing similar initiatives. The training program with General Anderson grows to 6 bases requesting sessions. William Carter corners me in the cafeteria. You're becoming what you tried to avoid, indispensable. I'm becoming useful. That's different, is it? Because from here it looks like you're building something bigger than yourself, and that's exactly what leaders do. I'm not a leader. I'm a consultant who used to clean floors. You're a janitor who reminds everyone that worth isn't determined by titles. That's revolutionary. February brings Emma's 8th birthday. We celebrate with her robotics team at the apartment. Pizza, cake, and a new advanced programming kit I've saved for. Watching her unwrap it, seeing the pure joy on her face, I understand what Jennifer meant about different kinds of love. Being needed feels temporary. Positions change, skills evolve, someone else can always do the job. But being loved? That's permanent. That's choosing to show up every day, not because you're indispensable, but because you're present. Mrs. Wallace pulls me aside while the kids are playing. You've changed, Michael. Since that night you fixed the helicopter. I stopped hiding. More than that, you remembered who you were before grief told you to be smaller. She pats my arm. Jennifer would be proud, not of the engineering, of the father you've become. The words break something open that's been closed for 3 years. March brings unexpected news. The mentorship program has been so successful that Morgan Aviation's board wants to create a foundation. $5 million over 5 years, funding STEM programs in underfunded schools across the state. Elizabeth asks me to serve on the board of directors. This is beyond my expertise. It's exactly your expertise. You understand what resources mean to students who don't have them. Who better to decide where this money goes? The foundation launches in April with Lincoln Elementary as the pilot program. 50,000 becomes 100,000, enough to serve not just Emma's school but 3 others in the district. Ashley Crawford becomes curriculum director, helping design programs that connect practical engineering to classroom learning. Watching the foundation's impact ripple outward, I think about visibility and invisibility, about how 18 months of hiding led to one night of being seen, which led to changes I never imagined. Emma's robotics team qualifies for nationals in May, competing in Orlando against the best programs in the country. We fly out together, just the 2 of us, and she talks the entire flight about strategy and probability and how many teams use similar servo configurations. At the competition, her team places 7th out of 200, not winning but extraordinary for a program that didn't exist a year ago. More importantly, she's surrounded by other kids who think like her, who see the world as problems waiting to be solved. On the flight home, she falls asleep against my shoulder. I think about the past 9 months, from janitor to consultant to board member to whatever I'm becoming, about promises kept and redefined, about being present in ways that matter. My phone buzzes with an email from General Anderson, a formal request for permanent civilian contractor status, quarterly training sessions, remote consultation as needed, official recognition as a subject matter expert in field aviation engineering. The compensation is substantial. The impact is measurable. The time commitment fits within my boundaries. I accept without hesitation. June brings the end of Emma's 2nd grade year. Her report card is excellent, her teacher's comments glowing. But what strikes me most is the drawing she includes. Our apartment, but bigger, with a door on her room, and 2 stick figures labeled me and Daddy holding hands. Beneath it, she's written in careful letters, "My dad fixes helicopters and helps people. He is really good at both." That weekend, we go apartment hunting, not because we have to. The consultant's salary covers our current place comfortably, but because Emma deserves her own room with a door. Because I can provide that now without sacrificing presence. We find a 2-bedroom in a better neighborhood closer to her school. The 2nd bedroom is small but perfect for an 8-year-old's growing independence. Moving day, Emma directs where everything goes with the same precision she brings to robotics. The first night in the new place, she calls me to her room. "Daddy, I have a real door now." "You do. Can you close it?" "Of course." She tests it, opening and closing it 3 times. "I never had privacy before." "Well, now you do. But my door is always open if you need me." "I know. That's what makes having my own door special. Because I can close it, but I know you're still there." The summer brings a rhythm. 3 days a week at Morgan Aviation, 1 weekend a month training military mechanics, board meetings for the foundation, and the rest of the time with Emma. We take a road trip to the Grand Canyon, spend long afternoons at the community pool, build increasingly complex robots in the kitchen. In August, Elizabeth offers me the director position again. The role has been restructured. Flexible hours, work from home options, full autonomy over schedule. 160,000 annually. This time I accept, not because the money matters more or because Emma needs me less, but because I've learned that being present doesn't mean being limited, that I can be fully engaged in meaningful work and fully engaged with my daughter, that being whole means bringing all of myself to every part of my life. The day I start as Director of Engineering Operations, Miguel Rodriguez gives me a card signed by all 12 mentorship program participants. Inside, in Spanish and English, it reads, "Thank you for seeing us when we were invisible." I keep it on my desk as a reminder, not of what I've accomplished, but of what matters. Every person cleaning floors, stocking shelves, doing work that others don't notice, they all have stories. They all deserve to be seen. September brings Emma's first day of 3rd grade. She boards the bus with confidence I didn't have at 8, wearing shoes that fit and carrying a backpack filled with supplies I didn't have to save for. She waves from the window, and I wave back, thinking about the distance we've traveled. That afternoon, picking her up, she's bursting with news. "Daddy," Mrs. Crawford says we're starting an advanced robotics program for students who want to compete at higher levels. She pauses. "But it means staying after school 2 extra days a week. Is that okay?" "Of course it's okay. I'll adjust my schedule. You can do that? I'm the director now. I make the schedule." Her smile could light cities. October brings the first anniversary of that night, the night I fixed Elizabeth Morgan's helicopter and asked for lights instead of recognition. The company marks it by announcing the foundation's expansion, $10 million over 10 years, serving 20 schools across California. Elizabeth gives a speech at the announcement, but halfway through she stops and looks directly at me. "A year ago, someone reminded me what actually matters. Not profit margins or contracts or proving that a machinist's daughter could lead. What matters is using whatever power we have to lift others up, to see people who've been invisible, to remember that competence exists everywhere, not just in corner offices." The applause is generous, but what strikes me is the shift in her tone. The certainty tempered with humility, the power wielded for service rather than dominance. After the event, she finds me in the parking lot. "Thank you, Michael, for that night, for refusing my kiss, for asking for something that mattered. You changed more than my company. You changed me. You changed yourself." I just asked the right question. Walking to my car, I think about questions and answers, about what we ask for and what we receive. I asked for lights in a school and received a foundation. I asked for 20 hours a week and received a directorship. I asked for presence with my daughter and received wholeness. November brings Thanksgiving, and Emma insists we invite everyone who helped us. Mrs. Wallace, Ashley Crawford, Miguel Rodriguez, and his family, Robert Harris. Our new apartment fills with people and noise and laughter. Emma stands on a chair to make a toast. I'm thankful for my dad, who fixed helicopters and helped people and remembered that I'm important too. The simple declaration silences the room, then Mrs. Wallace starts clapping and everyone joins, and I have to turn away because my eyes are burning. Later, washing dishes with Mrs. Wallace, she observes, "You found your balance. I'm still learning it every day. That's what balance is. Constant adjustment, not perfect equilibrium." She hands me a plate to dry. "Jennifer would be proud, you know? Not because you became successful, but because you figured out how to be both, the engineer and the father, the leader and the present parent." I hope so. I know so. Because that's what love does. It doesn't diminish you. It completes you. December brings Emma's first advanced robotics competition. Her team is younger than most competitors, less experienced, facing programs with decades of history. But they've learned to think differently, to solve problems rather than follow templates. They place fourth, and Emma is radiant with pride. "We didn't win, but we belonged, Daddy. We really belonged." "You've always belonged, sweetheart. You just needed people to see it. Like you, like both of us." New Year's Eve, Emma and I stand on the balcony of our apartment, watching fireworks over the city. She's wrapped in a blanket against the cold, leaning against me. "Next year, I'm going to build a robot that can climb stairs." "That's ambitious. You always say ambitious is good." I do. And it is. "What's your goal for next year?" "To keep being present. To keep seeing people who are invisible. To keep learning how to be whole." She thinks about this. "That's a good goal, Daddy." The fireworks explode in colors, and I think about the past year. From janitor to consultant to director. From hiding to being seen. From broken to whole. My phone buzzes with a text from Elizabeth. "Happy New Year. Thank you for everything you built this year, not just programs, culture, values, hope." I don't respond immediately. Instead, I pull Emma closer and watch the city celebrate new beginnings. Credentials open doors. Competence keeps them open. But wisdom? Wisdom builds new doors where there weren't any before. The words form themselves, and I realize they're the final piece, not just being good at something, not just being present, but using what I know to create possibilities for others. Building doors where walls used to be. The last firework fades and Emma yawns. Can we go inside now? It's cold. Of course, sweetheart. As we head in, she stops at the door. Daddy, I'm glad you're not invisible anymore. Me too, baby. Me too. Inside, the apartment is warm and bright. Emma's robotics projects cover the kitchen table. My laptop sits open to foundation proposals. Photos line the walls. Some new, some old, all of them telling the story of who we've become. I tuck Emma into bed and she's asleep before I finish the second page of her book. I sit beside her for a moment, watching her breathe, thinking about promises kept and redefined. Being needed feels like love, but it's not the same thing. Jennifer was right, and it took me 3 years of hiding, 1 night of being seen, and a year of learning balance to understand what she meant. Being loved means choosing to show up, not because you're indispensable, not because no one else can do what you do, but because you're present, because you're whole, because you're willing to be seen in your strength and your vulnerability, your competence and your humanity. I close Emma's door, her real door, in her own room, and think about the janitor I was a year ago. Mopping floors and hiding from life, protecting Emma by diminishing myself. Confusing invisibility with safety. That person is gone, not erased but transformed, integrated. The same hands that pushed a mop now guide engineers. The same mind that diagnosed helicopter failures now builds programs that change lives. The same heart that broke when Jennifer died now beats with purpose that honors her memory. Tomorrow I'll go to work and continue building. Programs, culture, opportunities. I'll pick Emma up from school and help with homework. I'll answer calls from General Anderson's training program and review proposals for the foundation. I'll be present in all of it, not perfectly, not without struggle, but wholly, completely, fully myself in every part of my life. That's not heroism, that's not sacrifice, that's just love, real love, choosing every day to show up for the people and purposes that matter. And that's enough. That's everything.